this point, I have created all my layers. I have my background, I have the crowd. So the background is basically just the green that I put all the way back in the background. Otherwise, it renders as black. You can change that. I usually just put a box. I have created this crowd, and I basically created this little group here, copy and paste, and then I just copied it again and again and again. The barrier, which is this thing that separates the crowd from the tennis court. I then created the net in the court. I will be bringing this in, bringing this out. Same with the crowd and the barrier. Those will be coming in and out. I'm going to do close-ups of my tennis players that will cause them to, for the crowds and the courts to disappear. So now that I've got all the background set up, let me make this go a little bit longer. We'll go to this 200th frame. Let's draw in my players. So first player, let's go ahead and draw him. This angle is kind of funny. How do I want to do this? I might just let it be funny. Part of my style is not necessarily making things pretty. I mean, you can see these lines are not straight. I'm not too concerned with that. I'm really just trying to make some fun cartoons. So let's do them from the top angle. So let's go ahead and just draw a head. And then we can draw a body. Let's give him a neck. There's his neck. And then a body. And then some legs. I don't like those legs. Let's draw skinnier legs. All right, and then his little feet. All right, so it actually ended up being pretty, even though the court is from top down, sort of a top down view, a bird's eye view, I'm actually going to draw this guy a little bit more as a profile, just because I'm not an artist. So we're going to just do it this way. We can draw his little ear. Let's give him a little headband because he's a tennis player. Let's zoom in a bit and give him an eye. And give him a nose and a mouth. And maybe some arms would be good with a tennis racket. So maybe this first arm. He's just going to hold it out here. Here's his hand. His tennis racket. I kind of like the beginning of that shape, but I didn't like the end. Same with that one. Let's do it this way. That's a little better. I'm not going to fill that in with color, so I'm going to go ahead, just give it a little gradient. A little grid. All right, so he's done. So I already have skin color created that I created for the crowd. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in for him. I could make this a chick, a girl. But even though I am a self-proclaimed feminist, I tend to make a lot of male characters, and I think part of it is it's just easier, and they're actually not specifically male or female. It's just that, females just kind of look like men sometimes, I guess. All right, what outfit do we want to give him? I'm going to give him shorts too, so let's put a little line right here. All right. So typically, when I'm doing sports, I'll do a red character and a blue character, just because that's pretty standard. It's cliche. I'm also gonna give him a white eye. Let's give him a black dot in his black eye. There we go. And we're gonna make this guy red. All right, he's in a red outfit, and I'm gonna give him white tennies because he's a tennis player. And I want that handle, I want it to be kind of brown, maybe a really dark brown. So let's pick here, I kind of like that bluish, that kind of dark blue. Yeah, that one. So we'll give his handle a dark blue color. There we go. So now we got our first player. So to make our second player, let's extend him a little longer. We'll go to the 50 mark. I'm probably going to cut all these out and make them, really, I probably only want to show this seam for about a second, so I'll probably go to like the 120, 125 mark. For the other guy, for the opponent, I'm going to just copy him, put him on a different layer, and notice I'm not copying the frame because that will change them. When I change them, I just copied the drawings that I created and I put it on a different layer. I can make him a little fatter. Let's move him over here. But I don't want them to be identical the way that they are. I'm going to move him actually up a little bit. Maybe make him a little bit smaller. So a few things I'm going to change with this guy. First off, he's going to have about the same outfit. What I do want to change is his hair. And there's a few reasons why I'm going to change the way that his hair is. One is to distinguish him from the other guy. And I'm going to do that with both color. So let's turn him blue. Let's turn his headband. And then I'm going to give him a mohawk. Oh, I don't like that mohawk. Let's try that again. All right, cool. And now I'm going to give him maybe a brown mohawk. So we'll go a little bit more lighter than I did with the racket. Let's pick about there. Yeah, that's a good color. Notice that I'm not very particular about my colors. I kind of know vaguely where I'm going with them, but I'm not going to spend a long time trying to pick a color. All right. So this is my setting. One thing I don't like about this is that they're not really looking at each other. So maybe it's what I'm going to do is move this guy up so that I also don't like the smirk on their faces. I'm going to turn their frowns upside down. All right, let's extend this guy. And again, we're probably going to go to the 25 mark before I start going in. So I've got this on 24 frames per second. So about 25 is it's just easier to round for me. That one frame, in my opinion, is not going to make a huge difference. All right, I'm going to move these smirks. I don't like them. So delete that. I'm going to color it in. And we're actually going to do what I usually do a few minutes in, and he's just going to look. All right, now let's do this with the other guy. Same thing. There he is. I'm going to remove his little smile. And turn it. And we're going to give him a little smirk too. There we go. There, I like that a lot better. So here we are. I have my tennis courts. I have my player 1. I have my player 2. I don't think I need a ball yet. I'm going to do that in a minute. What I'm thinking I'm going to do next is my close-ups. So at this point, everything except for, so again, we're just going to go to the 25-second mark. And everything except for the background is going to be deleted. So we'll just select all that and delete it. So for the first second, we just have this scene right here, and I can show that really quick. That's it. And if I really want to do some blocking, we could do some blocking. That's the first second. It's not hard. Next, let's go in on player one. So to do that, I am going to go ahead and just copy player one's whole upper body, grab it, and we're going to make it large and in charge. Move it down so it's cut off a little bit. I did not include some of those black pieces, which I probably should. So let's go back to this frame. Again, I am copying the drawing, not the key. And we're going to blow him up. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. I like the racket being in there too. Now, something that I like to do sometimes, I'm going to add another layer. I'm going to add an eyes layer. So if I go back here, I'm going to grab his eye. I copy it, move it to the layer that I just created. I'm going to go back to this one. And we're going to make that pink so that the eye is on a different layer. I think I'm going to do that with the mouth too. Move it to this layer, delete it from this one. And the reason why I'm doing this and moving it to a different layer is so that I can animate that layer without touching the layer below it. So now we'll probably do this guy for another second. So let's move him to, actually let's do a little bit longer. So at 60, let me go in on my keyframes a bit. We're going to move this. So when you first see him, this is what he's going to look like. And then at maybe frame, I'm going to say 42, his eyes and his mouth are going to change. So we're going to make him have bit of a slit of a mouth, and his mouth is just going to be really angry. Because I copied a layer and made it bigger, the lines are bigger. And so I actually don't mind that aesthetic, but it also looks funny when you do a tiny line with the big line. So I'm going to just make my lines a little bit thicker. And I could do that by going into tool properties and changing it. For me, I just use my brush tool as is and my fill tool as is. Again, I'm not a perfectionist when I'm doing this. I am looking at just creating something fun to look at. So now, if we play it from the beginning, we've got our scene. And then our guy gets all angry. So now let's do that for the second one. So we'll take him. We're going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to take him. I'm going to move him. Oh, wait. Let's put him on this. We're going to blow him up. We're going to bring him down. So he's about the same size. Let's move his eyes and his mouth to another layer. And honestly, you can name these layers whatever you want, but for me, I have just learned about organization. And so through doing this and doing other projects similar, it's just titling things. So you know what? I used to title my colors, but what I've started to realize is I just like the colors. I kind of know what they are. I might title something, you know, broomstick handle and then use it for a table. So I kind of stopped using names on the colors, but as for layers, they're, especially with big projects, it's a lot easier to just label them. All right, we're going to do the same thing. Again, we had 10, 20, 30, about 35 frames. So let's do this to about 95 and a little about 15 in, about there. Again, I'm not trying to be precise. This is not going to be exact, and that's fine with me. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to draw him an angry eye and a really angry mouth. Closing that, filling it in, and extend that to 95. All right. So if we really wanted to be cool, we could check out what it looks like now. We've got about 3 seconds of animation. All right, now we're gonna go back to the court and the players and all of that. So we're gonna bring all this. I do want the players in it, so I'm gonna grab that guy. And in this case, I am copying, actually, in fact, I just want to copy the net, the barrier, the crowd. And the reason why I'm going to do that is if I do change any of those, they will change where in the drawings that I am now pasting over here. And we're going to have a volley at this point. So because there's a volley, this is where some preparation comes in. I think we're going to look at it from above. So we're going to look at it from above. I'm going to make this 300 frames, all of these. And then I don't have to worry about it. We're going to frame 300. So that's there. As for the players, this is what's really going to get animated, is the players and the ball. And so I got to do a little bit of planning right now. Do I want to draw the player every single time that he moves and hits the ball? And I'm kind of thinking yes. These are going to be really dynamic moves. I don't usually do frame by frame animation. A lot of times I will move the frames, move the animation, but I think in this case, I think that's what we're going to do. So, and that's one of the reasons why I create very simple characters too. So let's go ahead and place this guy right here. So to set them up, I'm not going to go the full minute, but I am going to allow the viewer to get, let me turn my onion skin off, to get a good idea of what's going on, know exactly where they're at. Okay, so we saw the court, we saw the players, then we saw player 1 up close, then now we're seeing player 2 up close, and now we're seeing the court again. So you need more than a frame for someone to understand that, and that's probably not enough. So let's go to 110, just so that they know. All right. Oh, that was not enough. Let's try that again. All right. Now, I'm going to animate. Actually, I'm going to have this guy stand in that place for a little bit longer. Let's go to 150. I can always move that later because I'm going to have player 1 serving. So let's zoom in on him. And again, instead of animating him again and again and again, I'm going to copy that drawing. I'm going to go to the next frame and I'm going to paste it. And what I want to do what I'm thinking I'm going to do actually is I am going to animate this on a different layer. let's see. So we'll add a layer, arm. Paste that in there. One thing I don't need is that piece. That piece needs to come from here. So I'm gonna delete that. Delete that. Delete that. Delete that. All right. I did notice that there was a line missing. I'm just going to draw that in. I'm going to get real close so that I can see exactly where that line was. I'm going to draw it right in. All right. Oh, I don't have the bottom of his racket either. Cool. And then I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to draw this line in. And I am going to make his outfit red. All right. It was basically a lot of preparation for a drawing that barely moved. But you'll see why. All right, so let's extend this to maybe 120. Yeah, I like 120. And we're going to do the same with this one. But now we're going to animate it. So it needs one more thing. There we go. All right, so let's put a keyframe in, and I'm going to animate this being rotated. So I'm gonna grab that, and I want it to rotate on his shoulder. So now he's gonna raise that up. Maybe in his other arm. Arm 2, around there. And I'm really going to want this to be below the player 1 so that it hides behind the body, because I'm not going to fully. Basically, I want to show him tossing the ball. So this could be just, oh, I want that to be black. That's not a right line. All right, so we'll let's extend that to 20. It looks like I might have to extend all of them a little bit longer. And we're going to look at this before I even move forward. And the ball, tennis ball. So what does a tennis ball look like? So, so I usually go to Google. I'll just Google illustration of a tennis ball, kind of get a good idea. I kind of like that one. It's really simple, just the white marks. So it's a ball with some white marks. All right, I feel good about that. So we'll draw it in. One thing that I did not do, let's first put that in a keyframe, and then I'm also going to animate it. I'm kind of reverse animating it in this case, where it ends up is really where I'm concerned about, rather than where it starts. So let's see, we'll say the shoulder too, and I want it to rotate. Now let's put that here. Okay, I want it to end up like that. All right, I gotta see what this looks like. So let's go back a few frames and check it out. Okay, it happened so quick that it kind of doesn't matter. I might hold this arm. In fact, let me take all of these bring that to 150. And I want him to hold that arm. And while he's holding that arm, maybe a few keys back, right about here, we're going to draw that ball. Actually, I want that ball to kind of appear, let's say right here. Because it does happen so quickly that I'm not really concerned about the keys before. So there's my ball. Generally, I would draw black lines, but because these white lines are so small and this ball is so small, now I kind of want a neon yellow. I could pick one of these, but I kind of want something in between. So I'm going to create a new one, probably around that color. Yeah, like that. All right. Fill that in. That looks like a tennis ball to me. All right, let's get this tennis ball moving. So remember, he's taking this tennis ball and throwing it. So I'm going to start with a keyframe, and it's just going to keep going up. How quickly? I want it to go up pretty fast. So we're gonna keyframe it here. Let me move this sucker on top of it, and it's going to go high. But the thing about animation is it almost pauses at the top while it's turning around. So we're going to put a keyframe maybe here. We're going to put one more keyframe a little bit higher there. One more a little bit higher. And then we're going to copy that one, bring it here. Copy this one, bring it here. And then it's going to go... I don't want it to be, because it's going to come down pretty quickly about there. And that's when this guy is going to smack it. So this is where it becomes really important to label your layers. So I think that's the arm, because I labeled it arm. So we're going to keyframe it there. And he's going to smack it. So let's rotate it, and oh, yeah, that ball needs to be a lot lower. All right, but we can see where it is right there. Let's bring it a little bit lower. And at that point, it's going to go up. And maybe even faster than that. It's going to go up. This way. If it was a bigger ball, I'd probably have it spinning, but since it's not a bigger ball and it's kind of hard to see the detail anyways, I'm just going to keep it static. All right, and then it's going to come down. And really, actually, similar to what I did with the ball being thrown in the air, I probably should do something similar to that. Here, let me re-keyframe this with that in mind. So it's gonna end up about there, and then I want it to slow down a little bit before it comes up. And we're gonna check it. And I definitely need to extend these. We'll go to, you know what? I'm going to go to 200 because I'm expecting to show this volley again and again. It's going to kind of go back and forth, and I think, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my players yet. I kind of want them moving, and I want them not necessarily just sliding back and forth. I kind of wanted some movement. It might be a little bit out of my skill level to do that. But I don't want to completely dismiss that. Okay, so where were we? We were animating the ball. Okay, so now this is going to go a little bit further that way. And then finally, it's going to end up right where this guy is going to hit. And I might have him move. I haven't decided. Okay. There is a lot that we just did, so I really want to see what this looks like. I don't have to go all the way back, although I pretty much did. Angry face. Angry face. Ooh, I kind of like that movement. There is some animation element to it. It's definitely not a very solid throw, but I think it actually pulls off really well. A lot better than I expected. It probably could be smoother, but again, I'm not a perfectionist, so we're just going to leave it as is. So now let's work on player two. And what I'm thinking is I want him to do a backswing. I want him to move and do a backswing. So I am going to delete him. Actually, let's start a little bit before the ball gets to him. So let's delete all those frames. Although I am going to copy the drawing and paste it as a new drawing. And this will give me the opportunity to do some fun stuff with him without having to do a ton of work. So I want him to do, I'm going to keep his racket. His racket and his hand can stay. I think it's his arm that really is the piece that needs to change. So let's get rid of his arm. And what I want him to do is I'm going to move him and I'm going to pull his racket. His arm is going to go way out this way. I'm going to cap his sleeve about there. Let's take this drawing, see how this looks if I move it. Okay. I think this might work. Let's fill this in a bit and make it a little bit nicer. One thing I'm a little concerned about is that I do have his racket moving a little quickly. That's a little abrupt. So maybe I'm going to do it there and I'm going to do one little tween. Let's just take his whole body. And I'm going to do a tween. Right here, I'll do a 2-frame tween and I'm going to have his arm a little bit lower. Take this whole thing and we're going to put it about there. Ah, and I got his nose in it. It's all right. I'm just going to delete that. We'll just take it from here. Put it back in. All right. So now I got to do one more black fill, which I should have done before I copied this. It's not a big deal. Do it here too. Let's do some filling with some blues. Make that line blue. It's fine. That's fine. We're gonna do the same here. And extend that one to 55. Now that ball, we're going to change where that ball ends up. I did like the direction before, but his racket's now up here. So let's make sure that this makes sense. All right, let's play the whole thing again. Yeah, I think that looks good. So the ball gets stuck, but the ball's gonna go back up. Let's see, I like that. So I had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that one, we'll move the ball back up. We'll do the same thing. That's the peak. And then back down. Over. And then finally to this guy. Now, this is where I get in my animation where I've got some decisions to make. We're at 180 frames. If I was to end this, I could probably end it around 250. I like about the 250 mark. That's roughly a 10-second drawing, cartoon, animation short. Sometimes they go too long. YouTube wants people to watch the whole thing. And so 10 seconds for me, I feel like is a good amount. I'm still learning a lot, but I think it's a good amount. So I might have this guy dive for it and not get it. And I'm kind of thinking that that's what I want to happen. So at that point, we're going to have this go here. Actually, so it's going to go land here. And before I do anything else, I want to put player 2 back where he was. About here. So let's end that. I'm going to copy him again here. Paste him. We're going to extend the key to about 200. I'm going to do 250 because like I said, I think I'm going to end around the 250 mark. And in fact, actually, I probably won't have him the whole time now that I'm thinking about it, but that's okay. So the ball's going to end there. Player 1 is going to dive for it. So a little bit before, about when the ball's there, let's keyframe him. And his arm. And really is what I should do is make the arm part of his, a sub of his body and put a peg in it. That'll have the arm follow. Oh, I need the other arm to be. But this is super simple. I've played with that a bit. It's been a minute, so I'm just gonna try and animate this without doing that. So he's gonna dive for it. So I need to animate him. First off, moving. So we're going to put this just at his hip. We'll have him move up a little bit. But I think more so I want him stretched. So that looks like he's reaching. As for this arm is going to have to move too. We're going to rotate it so that it's high. And as for this arm, we're just going to move it. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to animate it at all at this point. It should have been hidden back here. So we're going to copy that. About there. We'll paste it. We're going to copy that. There. Now we don't have to deal with that arm. In fact, we can delete it all together. Done. Okay. I want his arm to stretch a little too. Now, I have a feeling that ball is not going to be where I want it to be. So let's watch it. Let's watch the volley again. So we'll start here. Like that. Yeah, I'm not totally in love with it. I kind of think all this needs to happen a little bit sooner. So I'm going to move him that way. We're going to move the ball to hit the ground about there. And I want it to be a little bit higher. And I think part of what's missing here is the ball just bouncing off. So we're going to do And really, I could do a stretch, but the ball is so tiny. If the ball was bigger, I would do a stretch, but I don't think I'm going to do a stretch on this. So we'll do, and then it's going to just go off. Let's see. So now he missed it. So player one, I want to show really upset. We're going to kind of freeze it so that the viewer can see what's going on. But about here, all this I want to get rid of because I'm going to change both my players. In fact, I could do a close-up. In fact, maybe that's what I'll do next, is we're going to do a close-up. So let's take those close-ups before. I'm going to do the close-up of this guy first. Which also means I need to delete all of the crowd as well and the court. We'll get rid of that. Player two. Remember, we removed his facial expressions, which give us plenty to work with. I'm going to put his arm on another layer too. So I said we're going to go to about 250. So I want him to go to about 230 is what I intended, but I can delete that later. His facial expression, and I'm also going to put his arm, because he's going to throw the racket. Why not? So let's take his arm. Move that here. Oh. Move it back down to where it's supposed to be and delete it from here. This black. Oh, again, we've got the, all right. Because we've got thick lines. Just make them thick, fill them in. Again, you could just use the tool properties. All right, we're gonna bring that to about 230. And then facial expressions. We're going to take this. He's going to start with that. So this so everything else is going to 230. I want this to go to maybe 200. And then we're going to change it. And he's going to be super happy. So let's turn my onion skin on so I can see where his eyes were. We're going to make them a little bit bigger. Give him a pupil. And we're going to give him the biggest grin. He's going to look a bit like a clown, I'm realizing. Well, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, he looks a little silly, but that's okay. I kind of like him looking a little silly. And his arm is going to get... There's his arm. So I'm going to do a keyframe here, and he's going to throw his arm up. In fact, I could do... Well, let's see how this looks before I put in extra work. He's going to throw his arms up. That's going to be pretty quick. So I'm going to readjust this on his shoulder. And he's going to... he's destructing his face, which I don't love. Let's see how this looks. Oh, and I never filled in his body. Let's do that. Alright, I'm not loving this. Actually, it's kind of okay. Cool. And actually, it probably doesn't even need to go to 230, so let's delete all this. I'm probably good. Alright. And we'll end a few frames before that. So now we're going to do the same thing with player one. His close up. Again, we're grabbing the drawing. All the action, we want it right about. Make sure it's on the same layer. Paste him. We're gonna grab his eyes and his mouth. And paste that in. I kind of just want him dropping the racket. And maybe we'll do that in this layer. I don't typically like to put new things in different layers, but I think in this case it's okay. I don't want that. Oh, let's try this again. About there. We'll delete it from this layer. Alright. Turn my onion skin off for the second. We're going to take this to 250. And so he's going to drop his racket probably about half a second, so about 12 in. And then just drop the racket. Oh, see, that's why you don't want to put it on a different layer. I've got to go with that, but it's not that big of a deal. I do want to turn this masking off, though, so I can see exactly where it's landing. Because it's way over there that it's being controlled. If I change where this is, then it throws the whole drawing off, that entire layer. So that might not actually be fast enough. Let's do 240. Okay. Now, as far as facial expressions, let's delete that. Turn on my onion skinning so I can see where it was. Now, so I know that people's eyes droop when they're sad, but to help with this, I'm going to look at a few illustrations. So his eyebrows are up. Maybe I want to draw some eyebrows in because that guy's got it too. Basically, the eyes are pretty closed. So, okay, I got a good idea of how I'm going to move forward with this. That almost looks angry. Let's try something a little bit. I want more sad. All right, let's fill these with black, extend it, and see what it looks like. And one other thing that I want to add to this is a tear. So we're going to extend these just maybe to 270. I'm going to add one more layer. for a tier, and I want it to come about a little bit after he. Don't love his facial expression. Maybe, you know what? Let's do this with the eye. Let's give it a little bit more shape than just a straight line. We're gonna do this. I like that. That's better. That looks sad. Okay. So then at about 250, we're going to draw a tear. And the tear is going to start here. And we're just going to make a massive tear because this is a cartoon. That's what cartoons are. I could use this color. Let's see. What does this color look like? Is that? I like that as a color. So now we're going to go to 270. We're going to keyframe it. And by 270, put that on it. We'll have it drop completely. So now, one last thing that I want to add in here, because I'm trying to get subscribers, please subscribe, is something really quick that says please subscribe. And so I'm kind of thinking that we're going to do that with the crowd. So I'm going to copy the crowd, copy this after the tier about here, and it doesn't need, it needs to be half a second. So that's about 12. So we'll say 85. And then we're, all of these need to go to 85. And I'm going to add one last layer. Call it please subscribe. And as long as it's above all of those, there we go. And we'll just add some text. And maybe we'll add a little sign. That they're holding up. We'll make it white. We're going to extend this to 285, just like the others. And for this, I'm just going to use the text, and I use the same, if I go to tool properties, I use the same font every single time. I'm kind of trying to develop an aesthetic, and part of that aesthetic is the font that I use. So we'll put this in here, and I'm just going to say, please subscribe. Yeah, I think the size is good, but I can relocate it. And there, yep, that's what I want. Large crowd. What I don't have is tennis balls, because I want bouncing tennis balls. So perfect. Download file, import sound, downloads. Now, because I am going to use this sound again, we're just going to, and again, we're just going to copy it. Nope. Let's do it about, what about here? He hits it about there, and then it hits the ground about here. In fact, maybe I'll do this so it's not as high. All right. Now we are ready. Let's see what the whole thing looks like. Put a mask on it. Start from the beginning. And there it is. I don't like the please subscribe. That could be a little bit longer, but other than that, I think we're good.